Diddy isn't the first and unfortunately won't be the last. He's able to get away with it because us as a society, we're laughing this shit off. This country was built off of raping, pillaging, stealing, killing, not giving a fuck about consent, right? And that's why Diddy is not the first and will not be the last. Hello. Welcome and or welcome back to my channel. My name is Donna Kevra and I make space for radical bad bitch shit. If that sounds like something that you're rocking with, then you're in the right place. And if you're just like, what the hell does that mean? Stick around and find out. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say thank you so much to all my new subscribers. I'm almost at 100 subscribers, and that makes me feel really good because I'm organically gaining subscribers. I haven't been posting my videos or like little snippets on other social media platforms, so I'm just organically gaining subscribers where I post on YouTube. Whoever sees it, sees it. If you fucking with it, then you're gonna stick around, and I love that for you, and I love that for me. I just want to say thank you to all my new subscribers. Like, thank you for seeing the vision, especially in like the foundational stages. It makes me very happy. I'm almost to 100 and it makes me feel so good. So I feel like I might do a thing. I don't know, like what people are supposed to do, but that's definitely a milestone for me. The next goal, once I get to 100, will definitely be 500. But baby steps, I'm still definitely, a baby to this. So it is what it is. But shout out to y'all. Okay, so I'm here today because clearly you can tell from the title that I'm talking about this whole Diddy situation and how it's just been an explosive popular culture conversation, and how you can see based on the reaction to the society around us how we got here. And what I'm thinking about is just the obvious proof and patterns of how we're going to get here again. And there will be other scandals and there will be other uprootness of weird shit being exposed by people that are in the industry and by men and by people who are deeply embedded in the bowels of patriarchy. So that's why I'm here today, because I was just like looking at the different reactions and I'm just like, oh, that's not, y'all not, oh, this is how we got here. Now, while it's no one else's fault except for Sean Diddy Combs for the actions that he's done, it's a systematic system for him to have been able to get away with such the large scale of what he's done and then for such a long period of time. So this is a community-based operation of what has happened, as well as just the thinking and the normalization that comes with the behaviors that we see and the abuses that have happened. So let me stop the yap and let's just get down to the nitty-gritty, okay? Diddy isn't the first and unfortunately won't be the last. So this initially was going to be specifically about celebrity culture and how it's so dangerous and how we can see how easy it is to get wrapped up in the concept and the idea of celebrity culture. But then once I started seeing even more reactions from people who are not celebrities, from everyday people, friends, family members, well, not family members, because my family members and my friends, they don't play that shit. But from people who I see like on social media, commentators and things like that, I've been noticing a pattern that makes me very uncomfortable, but then also just proves the point that abusers are able to get away with the abuse because of the enabling that happens around them. But we're gonna get to it. 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 Okay. I'm not gonna make it directly about celebrities anymore, even though celebrity culture is extremely dangerous. Um, but this is just like patriarchal standards and the praise of men is how we get here. Yeah, the praise of men is how we get here. Pedestalizing people makes them godlike, and there's a familiarity that creates a false relationship. So we're putting people on these pedestals like, oh my God, they're so great. They're doing so much for the community. They've made this nostalgic music. They've done this thing. Like they created this new sensation, pop culture, whatever, whatever. So we see P. Diddy, and he's the one who really like exploded the bling, the fabulosity, the like ridiculous amount of wealth, I guess, when it comes to the hip hop community. So a lot of people associate that because he did really bring in the bling era for hip hop. Where like we're having these $1 million music videos, we're showing yachts, we're showing like exclusive, ridiculously expensive parties. We have jets, we have these expensive ass clothes. Now, of course, this all happened in like hip hop before, where you're showing the gold chains in the 80s and like all the other stuff, but it was a rebranding of luxury and eliteness and exclusivity of the hip hop industry that P. Diddy kind of introduced. So he, game changer, right? Talented, right? And also, so fucking what? Like, there's plenty of people who are talented and aren't abusing people. There's plenty of people who are talented and don't have anywhere to live or food to eat. Just because you have talent, that doesn't negate the fact that you still are a human being living a human experience. So, yes, I'm just gonna preface that by saying I'm not here to just be like, oh my God, Diddy's a horrible person because he has no talent, da da da. Talent doesn't negate abuse. Talent doesn't negate your humanness and the ability for you to be held accountable. So let's just get that out the way. But people pedestalize celebrities into the point where like they think that they know them in the same way we can see like with Nicki Minaj's Barb's fans and with Beyonce's fans, like the Beehive, things like that, where they can do no wrong. No matter what they do, it's just like they have their back no matter what. And that can be a gift, but it's totally a curse if the handler of their support group isn't responsible. Like they can run amok and really ruin people's lives in the same way we see with P. Diddy. So, yeah, like we don't know these people. You do not know P. Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know P. Diddy. You barely know your family members. I'm pretty sure there's things that your family members have done where you're just like, oh, really? It leaves you in shock and awe. Like you barely know your friends, you barely know your family members. So for you to think that know a random celebrity and you're sticking up for this celebrity person is because you see yourself in them, or you see like some type of connection to your personal life, your personal self in them. So you either know someone who's done behavior like that before, you are a person who's done behavior like that before, you want to do some type of behavior like that before, and you are connecting in that way with this person. Because to be able to stick up for an abuser and to make excuses for an abuser is absolutely absurd. But you have to have some type of connection there where you feel like there's some type of personal tie. But you don't know that person. You don't know P. Diddy. You don't got to stick up for him. And the same people stick up for like billionaires. You think sticking up for like a billionaire is going to make you a billionaire? You're not rich. You're poor. You just had to drive your mom off to the bus stop. You're splitting light bills with your cousins. Y'all, like, girl, don't get me started. But what I'm saying essentially is just like, you don't know these people in the same way you barely know people that you've known for years in your life. There's things that your family members have done that leave you in shock and awe, whether it's good or bad, or you're surprised. But people change, all these other things. So for people to have this false pseudo connection relationship with P. Diddy where they're upholding him, it's just like, shame on you. Like, but that also shows that like they are either relating to them in some kind of way, and that's just as dangerous. That's like, you're an abuse apologist? Baby, please. Yeah, because like essentially people want to have that money, that power, and that menace. So whenever there's someone who is like making excuses for abusers, it's because they either want to be in close relationship with them, whether it's sexually or friendship relationship. They either want to be in close proximity, or they want to be able to express themselves in a similar way that is very close to the abuser. Because what the fuck are you doing? Like, people want to be able to get away with bad shit, which is why we see the argument where it's just like, oh, they don't do this for white men, they don't do this for white people. And it's just like, first of all, yes they do. Y'all just not paying attention. You gotta stay off the urban bloggers. Not one of your from an urban blogger, from an urban blog.
Let's get it from a credible website, not some urban bloggers, darling.
No, it's not an urban blogger. Trust me.
Stay off the urban blogs, or open up your mind to different kinds of publications, because they're definitely talking about the white men too. Like the first Me Too movement, which was co-opted from Tarana Burke's. Tarana Burke. Is it Tarana Burke's or Burke? From Tarana Burke, the Me Too movement that was stolen and basically was the face of like white women. That happened in the like music industry. I mean the movie industry. That was like white men. You know, like the first wave of the Me Too movement, that was white men, right? That they were taking down. So whenever the argument is like, oh, they don't do this to white men, it's just like, first of all, yes, they do. And then second of all, are white people the barometer to humanness? Are white people the barometer to ethical behaviors? Because not in my household, they're not. I don't see white people and I'm just like, I want to be like them. Like, they're the goal. I don't see white people and I'm just like, oh, okay, if they're not doing it, then it's not legit. Like, no, I'm legit without a white person being the center focus. I don't base my life or my actions around what white people do or what white people have done. Because if that was the case, we would be enslaving everybody. White people are evil. What are you talking about? Like, why are white people the base and the barometer of you? Like, they don't bring up Asian people. I'm like, why is white the only race that we're talking about? Like, I don't understand, but girl, that's another conversation for another day. Okay, so one of the biggest things that is like grinding my gears is the fact that people are forgetting consent is the key factor in this entire whole debacle surrounding Diddy. Consent is the key to life. Consent is the key to a tragic less life, right? Like, if you're consenting along the way and people are consenting along the way, it takes away a lot of trauma opportunities, because when people are on the same page, then you can make decisions, you can move in a way and be prepared and all those other things. But we're constantly seeing over and over in this entire situation that the consent is being lost along the way. People are arguing, oh, well, you knew what you were doing when you were going up there. What did you expect? Blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, yeah, you could want to go and hang out with P. Diddy. You could want to go to a party and hang out with this person. You're consenting to go to the party. You may even be consenting to have sex with this man. But once you start adding in different influences without people's consent, that's not, it's not even sex anymore. You know what I'm saying? If I'm having sex with someone and I'm just like, oh, ow, this actually hurts. Can we change positions? And they don't, we're not having sex no more. That changes the dynamic. Or if I'm having sex with someone and they're just like, okay, now let's do some cocaine to continue on. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. And they force me to do cocaine. That's, hello, like, where's the consent, y'all? Like, I'm going to get into that a little bit more a little bit later. But that's just throughout the entire thing. Like, whether it is with sexual partners, whether, or even not in a sexual relationship. Girl, the incense has got my eyes burning. Incense got my eyes burning. But girl, but you already know when it comes to talking about these heavy topics, but you gotta have something burning. You gotta have some kind of smoke to clear up the damn room, bitch. Cause this shit is so fucking heavy. I don't know why it took me so long to even come and do this. Cause like, this shit's been disturbing, bro. Like, I've had to really just, I don't know, it's been disturbing. But anyway, yeah, I don't even know what the fuck I was saying, bitch. Okay, so this also like brings me to the concept and the idea of like things that are taboo, things that can be seen as taboos, sex work, drugs, gayness, kinks, and things like that. Like, those things are not the problem. Like, a lot of people are just like, and he hired sex workers, and it's just like, or like, and they were having gay sex, and it's just like, yeah, you know, or just like they were doing group sex, and like it was an orgy, and it's like, that's not the problem. We need to normalize these things so that those are not sensationalized, because then those are the focuses of what the actual issue is, and the actual issue is abuse. The actual issue is like breaking consent, right? So those things are rooted in judgment. If you subscribe and you care about what people think, those things are rooted in judgment. So it kind of like debilitates people from wanting to come forward because of the judgment that will come with it. Because if you say, okay, yeah, I was doing drugs and I ended up having sex with someone that I didn't want to have sex with, then the question becomes, well, why were you doing drugs? Well, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's, that kind of thing. Or when men engage in sex with other men, they may not be as forthright or confident to express a harm that has happened to them or some type of traumatic experience, because they don't want to be seen as gay. They don't want to be seen as a man who has sex with other men. So if we normalize these taboos of sex work, of different kinks that you might be into, you might want to pretend you a damn dog. You know what I'm saying? In order to get your rocks off. But some people are like ashamed to admit these things. And then that leaves that level, that puddle of shame that could be held over your head so that you do remain quiet. Bitch, me, I'm telling all my motherfucking business, bitch. Because these things cause harm, like virtue signaling. Like, I would never be a sex worker. Oh my gosh, I would never tie myself up before having sex. Oh my gosh, I would never do BDSM. Oh my gosh, I would never have sex with the same gender. Blah 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 blah. the virtue signaling makes whoever, like when you say these things, you never know who's on the receiving end, and you're assuming that everybody thinks like you. But no, you're just showing victims that you're not a safe person to be honest with, and then that refrains them from speaking out. Because even when we see Cassie spoke out, we see the producer, I forget his name, the producer who was like living in Diddy's house for like a year or something. When these people speak out, we're snooping into them, digging dirt up on them, making all these crazy accusations on them. But it's just like y'all are losing focus. You're losing focus. The perpetrator here is this man and other possible people. So it's just like, whether you're gay, whether you like getting tied up, whether you are a sex worker, those things are not the problem. The problem is abuse. Like, let's stay focused, people. Let's stay focused. Yeah, because like once we start focusing on these taboo things, then it starts to become like a mockery, and we're making jokes about things that are unnecessary, like baby oil, okay, being freaky, okay. Like we're focusing on things that are not relevant. They're just sensationalized details. And I honestly was so like disturbed seeing people who are content creators and just being really insensitive about the whole situation, cracking jokes about baby oil, cracking jokes about him being freaky, or saying things like that, like doing whole full blown simulations of what could have possibly happened, and like acting things out, and it was probably like this, and it probably smelled like this, and it probably looked like this, and they was probably doing this, doing that, and it's just like, that's not funny at all, bro. And it really shows your lack of intelligence when you have to go and default to that kind of foolishness to crack a joke. There's things that are genuinely funny and you don't have to be offensive to anybody, but you have to have some type of intelligence and depth and experience for you to be able to crack a joke and not be offensive. There's funny knock knock jokes. You know what I'm saying? Like there's funny jokes where you don't have to be offensive to anybody. But for me to see such a vast like arena of people being these comedians, not everybody's so funny. You know what I'm saying? Like the punchline, the baby oil is everybody punchline now. It's just like that's disturbing, and it really just, this is what perpetuates rape culture. These are things that perpetuate rape culture, because if I was a victim of this man and I'm like, okay, one day I'm gonna tell my story, I would be afraid, because what if there is something that's ridiculous that's a part of the story? People are gonna grab onto what's ridiculous, and then now you're creating jokes, now you're creating scenarios and all this other stuff. Like, it's fucked up. I don't like it. But yeah, so it just shows like lack of intelligence and a lack of empathy. And I can't get jiggy with that. Like, it just shows that it's not a safe space, and that it perpetuates and reaffirms, rape culture. So I also want to say, because like the biggest thing that we're talking about here is like Diddy sex trafficking, him raping people, him like drugging people and things like that, like kidnapping and stuff like that. So I just wanted us to talk about what sex is and how consent is what makes sex sex, right? I spoke a little bit about this earlier, about how like once you change any dynamic and someone doesn't agree to it, but you continue to go on anyway, that changes the dynamic and it's no longer sex. Consent is what makes sex sex. Because once sex stops being consent centered, once one or more parties doesn't consent to something but it happens anyway, that's then assault. You've assaulted someone. You can be in the middle of having sex and they're just like, okay, let's go shoot up some heroin. Like, let's shoot up some heroin right now to make this, and it's crazy experience. And if the person, you're just like, no, and you just stick them with a needle and shoot heroin in them anyway, you've assaulted them. That's not, you're not having a consensual experience anymore. Like, that's not sex. So I just want us to like keep that in mind, because yeah, there's plenty of ways people could have been there on purpose. People could have been there wanting to be there, but very quickly the dynamics can change once consent is out of the scope. And the details that we're hearing of like needing IVs, the details of hearing how people are being forced to take drugs, the idea of people being forced to physically be in a place after they are ready to go, or you're drugging people through drinks or water and all the other things, you're assaulting people. You have a systematic way of lining things up where you already know, okay, they're gonna take this drink, they're gonna feel this way, they're gonna be like this, their body's gonna do this, we're gonna do this with them, we're gonna record it in this way, and blah blah blah. It's systematic. Like at this point, it's not even it's very dangerous to even be in proximity of this man because you have to be hyper vigilant to like not be that you have to be more. I'm gonna get into this later, but you have to be more responsible than the abuser. Like you have to outsmart the abuser. But the thing with abusers is that like they think about this shit. They plot and they plan about these things. Like this is not just something. There's a lot of times where abuse is just like opportunity, but a majority of the time, especially when it's in this such a large scale for such a long period of time, these are things that this man has thought about. These are things trial and error where he's like, okay, well that time that didn't work, so now let's do it this time. Like, so girl, we're gonna get to it. I'm getting, ooh, baby, I'll be getting ahead of myself. We're gonna get there. Yeah, because it definitely creates that predator prey dynamic. And these are things that we can see in everyday romantic relationships when it comes to cis het men dating cis het women. You know, it's always just like women are supposed to be chaste or men are supposed to be like kind of taunting them and just to get what it is that they want. And whatever the thing that what men want is always like something very shallow. You know, like they want you to have sex with them. You feel me? They want to move into your house, a homosexual. You know, they always say like, "Oh, marriage and children and stuff like that," and it's just like, ugh. I've asked the married ladies and the divorced ladies what that experience was. None of them have good stories. None of them have things where it's, wow, that was fantastic. It's always like, oh, it's work. It's a lot of work, like, but it's worth it though. If you love it, it's a lot of work, but it's fun. It's a lot of work. Bitch, I already gotta work. I already gotta work. You know what I'm saying? To keep a roof over my head. So I'm just like, to add more work onto my plate? No, ma'am. But when you see those relationship dynamics between men and women, that's what it is. Like that's what the fun is. You know, I guess like it's to chase that predator versus prey thing, where it's just like they're trying to get something out of you. You know, like they can't just be upfront and things like that. And that can be seen when there's like a slew of women online who talk about wanting to be friends with benefits with men, and I'm just like, why would you want to do that? But you know, there are women who don't mind the concept of being friends with benefits, and they decide to just outright say, yeah, I want to have sex with you. We don't have to be in a romantic relationship that is emotional. You know, we can just be physical, have sex with each other, check in from time to time, but we don't really whatever. And so many women say how men, the guys that they are trying to be friends with benefits with, still try to like make it a monogamous relationship, or they try to like bring feelings into it just to kind of like manipulate them mentally and just feel like they're doing that like, oh, I'm a predator, I'm gonna get her, I'm gonna trick her, I'm gonna make her fall in love with me, I'm gonna make her think that I want her in this way, blah blah blah, and then they still end up switching up. It's weird. So there's another thing that I see a pattern with the whole Diddy situation when it comes to just society, how society sees women and how society sees sex in particular with women, and how it's just another commodity. You know, like when we think about any kind of music genre, P. Diddy's in hip hop, but country music, rock and roll, you know what I'm saying? I don't know about jazz, but you know, even blues and things like that, where it's just like, I got cars, I got jewelry, I got money, I got women. It's just like, not I'm on the commodity list. Not I'm a commodity like I'm a freaking bag, like I'm a pair of shoes, not like I'm a chain, I'm a jewelry, I'm a freaking car. You know, I got women, cars, clothes. It's like, why am I on the commodity list as a whole human being? That's weird. It's weird. But when you objectify someone in that way, then you are able to treat them like an object, you know? Like women are treated like objects because that's what we're seen as in the system that we're in, a patriarchy. So yeah, like that's just like a thing where people don't really see the harm as serious as it should be because of the way that women are objectified like a freaking lamp. You know what I'm saying? Like women are treated like the chair that I'm sitting on in the same way like chattel slaves were treated like objects, so that the abuse and the violence that is extremely heinous. These are like the things that we hear about and the details that we see are like that's something out of like a horror movie. This is something out of like Saw or like I don't know, like Chainsaw Massacre. When you're torturing people, you're holding people against their will, you're forcing them to do drugs, you're making people do things, you're playing these mind games and being manipulative as fuck and physically abusive and very corrosive in your behavior and you're breaking people down. That's like that's some shit that you read in a horror story in a horror book and you're scared. The details that we're reading in these lawsuits is like horror material. You know what I'm saying? This shit is crazy gory and just not cool. But the way that you subsidize it and you make it not as serious is because women are seen as objects. No one gives a fuck if you beat up a couch. You know what I'm saying? No one gives a fuck if you throw a couch out on the street. No one cares if you treat an old pair of shoes and you just treat them like trash or whatever, right? But those is because those are objects. But in the same way, women are added to the commodity list of expensive houses, cars, clothes, jewelry, trips. I got women. I got sex. Da da da. Women are treated as a commodity, but that's objectification. You're an object. You're added to the commodity list. Oh, you're a rich man? Okay, if you're rich, that means the signifiers of you being rich means that you have this kind of house, you have this kind of car, you have women, right? You have this amount of women, you have this kind of woman, the way that she looks and all these other things, right? So it's not like a flex, and which is why I had to kind of like pull myself out of the idea of tricking niggas, and that's a whole another video of like just the city girl ism for me, because I realized some years back that first of all it's dangerous, but you know, like it's dangerous, but that's where like relationships come in. So it's not always dangerous. Sometimes when you build relationships with people, girl, I'm digressing a little bit, but essentially you're still seen as an object if you don't have that understanding and that genuinely built relationship with whoever it is that may be tricking on you or whatever. Yeah, you're added to the commodity list. If not, that's why I'm just like, yo, that's how these women are able to tell their stories and still be like blamed. And then also it doesn't seem as horrible as it truly is. But when you actually think of these details and people having to live through this shit, this is like literally things that horror movies are written about. So I just want to say that. So Diddy is an example of what we see when consent is disrespected on a large scale. Like Diddy don't give a fuck about nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like consent for him is disrespected on all scales. It's not even just related to sex, but it's highly rooted in sex. But even with like the way he treats his artists, what on making the band, you're like forcing people to do really strange things, like wake up in the middle of their sleep. Like wake up in the middle of their sleep. That's a form of torture, bro. That's what they do when they with prisoners of war, waking people up out of their sleep, or like not allowing them to sleep, not allowing them to eat. That's a form of torture. That's what they do to prisoners of war when you get caught by the enemy. So it's just like the man is sick, right? The way that he treats his mother, the way that he treats like I said, his artists and things like that, forcing people to take deals and like forcing people into signing NDAs, forcing people to like get rid of their phones when they go to his house. Like the consent is not there. And also it just shows that like we don't have a consent based society, and that's because of colonial culture. Period, historian. Y'all gonna get a lesson. But yeah, it's because like we're not in a society that is consent focused. The United States of America was built on the breaking of consent, pillaging, raping, killing, kidnapping. So these are things that are embedded in our country's fabric, and which is why there's so many holes and why Diddy isn't the first and won't be the last. Because of colonial culture. This country was built off of raping, pillaging, stealing, killing, not giving a fuck about consent, right? And that's why Diddy is not the first and will not be the last. This is a pattern that was embedded into the weaving of this country's fabric. And everything that Diddy has done is definitely very reflective of like pilgrims. You know, like everything that Diddy has done, like everything that he's done, you can see that being done by like slave owners, right? You can see that being done by like the Portuguese, by people, by the English, right? By the French, by the Spanish. These are things that are embedded in the country's culture. Like we uphold getting over on people. We uphold rape. We uphold violence. We uphold commodifying women, right? And sex. We uphold commodifying these things. We uphold brutality. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. These things are just patterns of white daddy, right? You know, like if you want to be the one who's successful, what does it mean to be successful in this country? Well, if you're following your success based on what white men do, which a lot of people do, which is very strange, but luckily I grew up in a household that was very like we don't play that. So it's just in my roots and my foundation to not see white people as the barometer of ethical behavior, but a lot of people do. And what is success to white people? That colonial reign, that colonial power, that pillaging, that raping, the beating, the brutality, the getting over on people, the making sure that you are rotting people down, and you have control over people, and almost control and then power, and what's the word I'm looking for? Ownership. Ownership. Essentially, like, that's like the goal, is to have ownership. Everything is to own. You can't just let things be as is. Everything is own. You own the land, you own this, you own that, you own this. It's just such greed and things like that. Girl, don't get me started. Ooh, I'm just getting upset thinking about it. But yeah, essentially, like, that's what it is, and that's how Diddy is able to get away with all these things, because the culture in the United States, baby, is dirty. Dirty. There's no consent. Like, we're not taught consent. That's definitely disregarded for children at work. You know what I'm saying? In romantic relationships, family relationships, and things like that. Like, consent is not usually the focus, but that's what we're trying to change that now. That's what we're trying to change that, which is why I say, like, a lot can be learned from sex workers, because of that consent being the foundation of it, and just making sure that everybody's satisfied. We can come to some type of agreement kind of thing. A lot can be learned from sex workers, but there's so much taboo there. Everybody's like, ooh, sex, ooh, pussy, ooh, dick, ooh, booty hole, ooh, baby oil. People are just so ignorant and, like, immature. And also, honestly, they just lack intelligence. Like, when you aren't able to see things from a bird's eye view, and just, like, get the silly giddiness and maturity out the way, then you can really start having these conversations that can genuinely change culture in the world. Anyways, I just snapped. But let me get off my soapbox or whatever, and let's get back to the task at hand, shall we? But you see the smoke coming in, baby, because I'm spitting hot fire. So now to get to the weeds of what it is that we're really here to talk about. And that's how Diddy isn't the first and won't be the last. So I'm just going to name a few celebrities or public figures that we have known to be tied to situations that are similar when it comes to being abusive, when it comes to being violent, when it comes to being just a horrible fucking person. So from the past, we see Ike Turner. And Ike Turner and Tina Turner's story. Ike Turner, let me just focus on him. Ike Turner's story is so similar to Diddy, where it's like there's talent there. You know what I'm saying? He sees talent in other people. He is able to produce and make amazing music. He came from, like, harder backgrounds. You get what I'm saying? And, like, pulled himself up by his bootstraps and all the other things, but a terrible person, tyrannical person, horrible person, right? And then also there are such disgusting jokes tied to the abuse that they've done to people that they are attached to. Why is Tina Turner still being a punchline when we're talking about beating something up? When we're talking about, like, eat the cake anime. That shit is not funny, bro. That shit's disturbing. Like, are we okay? No, we're not okay. Ike Turner should not be a meme. You know what I'm saying? The man should be shamed and beat in the streets. He's dead, but still, like, the man should have been beat in the streets years ago. You know what I'm saying? With sticks, right? Like, we're cracking these jokes, but then that's also hushing survivors, because they're just like, oh my God, they're going to laugh at me. Oh my God, they're going to think that what I'm saying is not serious. They're going to laugh. They're going to make jokes about this. I'm going to be the laughing stock. That shit's sick, bro. And it's really disturbing. But the Ike Turner situation and Diddy is so similar to me in that way. Ike Turner wasn't able to get to the large scale that Diddy was, when it comes to, like, having multiple women and multiple victims. Of course, Ike Turner did have multiple victims. Like, his children talked about what he had going on. I'm sure other relationships that he was in that weren't as popular had, because you just don't stop abusing, especially if you're not going into, like, deep restorative care. You don't just wake up and be like, okay, I'm stop abusing now. Like, that was a phase. No, once an abuser, you're usually always an abuser. You feel me? So the situation is just very similar, where, like, we're cracking these jokes, and I'm just like, are y'all okay? Especially, like, when you are of a certain age, like, because children or whatever, even though, like, I feel like you gotta teach a child the way he want to grow, so that when he grow, he don't depart from it. But I mean, what's really going on, y'all? Like, what's really tea when it comes to Ike Turner? Like, what's going on? And then also talking about, like, present day people that we hear whispers about. We hear whispers about Trey Songz. What's going on with you, babe? You always tied up in some crazy shit. You always tied up in some crazy shit. You always paying something off. Like, Trey Songz is one. Chris Brown is another. Chris Brown just had allegations came out about him. I think Trey Songz just had allegations came out about him too. Chris Brown allegedly supposed to be getting, like, a documentary made about him. Girl, he's saying that he ain't wearing nothing like that. He just sold out, like, his thing. So it's just so funny how everybody's like, leave Chris Brown alone, like, blah, blah, blah. Chris Brown is left alone. We are in a society that upholds abusers and cracks jokes on their abuse. And I was just like, it was a mistake. And he did a mistake. I want you to go do it then. If it was a mistake, go do it. If it's something that people need to be forgiven for, you go do it and let's see what happens to you. But it's because of his celebrity status. It's because of his money. It's because of his being a man, right? That he's able to get away with these things. But your dumb ass can't do that and get away with that shit. They're going to lock your dumb ass up. Well, I don't know. It depends. You know, they be full online with the police officers. And police officers be frolicking. So, honestly, that's not even the case. You'll probably be out free if you're a man. You know what I'm saying? Men are able to be abusive. That's celebrated in a patriarchy. So, yeah. Chris Brown, Ian Connor. There's been whispers about Ian Connor being a rapist. For years, that's been the thing that I've been hearing. Countless athletes. I feel like literally every day or every other day, there's always some type of tabloid or large, big bold font. The big bold font. The big bold font. Large background.
The big font ball background.
It's always some big bold font talking about an athlete being abusive to some woman in his life. Girl, what's going on? Politicians. You see Eric Adams' ass, a damn thief. Politicians, but you see Donald Trump. How were you able to be a president and you saying things like grab about a pussy? People have accused you of being like a rapist. You've paid people off and all the other stuff. Huh? What's going on? But you're supposed to be the most powerful person in the country, in the most powerful country that exists. Rape culture is all around us. You know what I'm saying? Abuse apologists are all around us. Like, what's going on? Drake. I hope Drake see his date while I'm alive. I don't want it to be 30 years from now. You get what I'm saying? Like, it took Diddy was doing all this 30 years where it's just like, is it even redemptive? Is it even like solace? Is it even justice when it took this long? There shouldn't be a good hundreds of abuse victims. There shouldn't be over 100 abuse victims. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't have gotten that far. So it's just like, I feel the same way about Drake, where there's not even whispers. People are just outwardly talking about it. It's a trail of being predatory. You know what I'm saying? Like him trying to go after Ice Spice when she first came out. Nicole Bobby Brown, or whatever her name is. The Bobby Brown girl. Tina Bobby Brown, whatever her name is. The little white girl. And like other people that fully is just like very predatory in that way. So it's just like, I hope he sees his day soon and very soon. You know what I'm saying? I don't want it 30 years is too long, bro. Like, no, it's too long. Diplo is another one for the ones who want to hear about the white people. Mind you, I'm a black woman and I consume black media for the most part. Like, I don't necessarily shut myself off from the rest of the world, but I usually consume like black media and like black things. I'm a black woman that it just is what it is, and I'm purposeful in that. But yeah, I've heard, but Diplo dips his feet into black media, right? Azealia Banks has talked about him and how he wanted teenage pussy for her to make music and for her to be able to get the career that she has had. She had to fuck Diplo as a teenager. Excuse me? Excuse me? These are things she just said in interviews. I'm probably going to put an interview.
Another woman and artist who has come forward and shared her negative experiences with Diplo is Azealia Banks. According to Azealia, Diplo reached out to her on MySpace when she was just 17 years old. At this time, Diplo would have been about 29 years old. Azealia shared that soon after the two met, Diplo began taking advantage of her body, and in exchange, Diplo would give her musical exposure.
Wait. Did you hear that Diplo's still like having like teenage girls?
No, yes.
I used to have Diplo when I was 17. Like, yeah. Diplo definitely found me face. Because I've like always given him credit for launching my career off. But yeah, I had to give him some teenage to do it. He's always been like preying on kind of like young ethnic girls.
And when she's saying this. So it's just like, are we okay? How are we sleeping at night? How are we allowing these things to go on when we know these things are happening? Because the system is fucking screwed and broken. Who else? DJ Academics, he's had allegations, and I think he's still going through investigations when it comes to the allegation of him like drugging someone, like gang raping this lady, and like, yo, crazy as fuck. So it's just like, these are things that we're seeing present day. We're not this extremely justice focused community where everybody's just like, oh my God, y'all really taking out all these black men, oh my gosh, like all these black people, and like, oh my God, like it's a witch hunt, and oh my gosh, like it's like you can't do nothing, blah blah blah. Oh, he's just being freaky. It's like there's all these people roaming free. Clearly, if we were a justice based society, none of this would be going on. All these motherfuckers would be away somewhere, but we're not. You know, they're able to roam free. So whenever people are just like, oh my gosh, it's not safe anywhere, like y'all are too sensitive, blah 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 blah, it's very disturbing. First of all. But then also it's just like, these men aren't getting, they're not getting punished like they should be. They should all be beat in the street and lit on fire. Yes, I'm inciting violence. But it's the truth. Like, you take the street justice into your hands. If you want to put your hands on people without their consent, let me put my hands on you. You know what I'm saying? We ain't got to involve the law. We ain't got to involve the law. You know what I'm saying? We do not have to involve the law. But just know, if you want to put your hands on somebody without their consent, just know I'm going to put my hands on you. And that's real. Hello? What's going on? Is this thing on? Must. Girl, and I'm dead serious. Continuing on. Also, I just wanted to add that I want to add Naomi Campbell to that list because there's been things being said about her, how she was tied to Harvey Weinstein, how she called Diddy her brother, and things like that. Like, you're not in proximity with these people, with these certain kind of people who have such a potent, toxic reputation by accident. You're not going to just hang around and not see anything or engage in anything. They're not going to have you that close in proximity to them if you're not also down with the foolishness. So I'm not just saying the list is just for black men. I threw Diplo in there. You know, he a white man. I got Naomi Campbell here. She's a black woman. But yeah, like, all in all, what I'm saying is there are whispers, and it don't even be whispers. People just talk about it outright. I'm talking about it right now. You know what I'm saying? These are things that we know, but it's like, how do you get justice in a system that is based on raping, pillaging, and stealing? You know, like, what even is justice, girl? Anyways, child. Yeah, and that just brings me to say, like, the point, like, marginalized people are able to marginalize other people. Just because you're in a marginalized group doesn't mean that you're, like, unable to be a horrible person. Like, you're able to marginalize people as well. Just because you're black doesn't mean that you can't be anti-black towards a black person. Just because you are a woman doesn't mean that you can't be anti-woman. Like, just because Diddy is a black man, what does that mean? Like, do we just negate all of his actions because he's black? Like, is that a pass? Like, do we just grade on a curve? Are we grading on a curve for Diddy because he's a black man? Y'all tripping. Like, let's stop acting stupid. But I'm having to realize that people don't read, and like, most of their information is genuinely off of blog with the big bold font, and that's how we end up here. People are not reading. Anyways, fame culture, celebrity culture is really enticing, especially when it comes to a person like Diddy, where, like I said earlier, he did present us with his bling culture, where we're seeing $1 million music videos, we're seeing exclusive, like, yachts and videos, we're seeing, like, these crazy multi-million-dollar parties that he's throwing and things like that. So when you see those things, you're just like, oh my God, I want to be famous. Oh my God, I want to be a celebrity. I want to be close to those kind of people, right? Because it just seems like fun, especially, you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be in poverty, like, blah, blah, blah. You're either, like, really rich or just not. So it kind of makes you do anything for a celebrity, and you're kind of, like, willing to put the guards down that you would normally do in a regular situation because you're kind of blinded by the fabulosity and the money and the glamour and the, whatever that looks like for you. And yeah, people are just really desperate for fame. People are desperate for celebrity, and they're willing to ignore certain things in order to get that celebrity, and they're willing to sell crack to their mother, like Sean Carter. Anyways, so when it comes to celebrity culture and, like, wanting to be celebrity adjacent, it's still like smoke and mirrors, though. You get what I'm saying? Like, happy people, when you're genuinely happy, you don't do things like what Diddy is doing. You know what I'm saying? You're not smothering your feelings in drugs and drinking and partying and having sex 24/7. You know what I'm saying? You can indulge in drugs from time to time. You can indulge in drinking from time to time. You can indulge in sex from time to time. Right? I'm not here to tell anybody what the level is that is healthy or whatever the fuck, because, I'm not a professional. Well, I'm not a psychiatrist. Clearly, you are not.
I'm not a psychiatrist. Goodness. I'm not going to try to shrink her.
So I'm not here to diagnose anybody. But what I'm saying is that, like, when you're happy, you don't do harmful things, first of all, to yourself or other people. Like, when you're in a good space, you want to share that and you want to make that abundant. So the facade of fun, luxury, and happiness that comes with celebrity, but clearly that internal misery outweighs it all. That's what I wrote down in my notes. Because it's like, oh my God, you're having so much fun. Party, club, popping bottles. Which is why, like, I had to take a break off of Instagram for a minute. I came back, but I took a break off of Instagram because Everybody's just like, look how rich I am. Look how cool I am. I'm in Dubai. Oh, look, I'm in the club popping bottles. I'm paying $400 for a bottle of Hennessy. Like now, I just be like, y'all, girl, okay, you a celebrity girl. You rich. You're rich. You're rich. You're rich. Right? I am very rich. Okay? Rich, you need to get your motherfucking teeth fixed. How about that?
I am very rich, bitch. I say I am very rich. But rich, you need to get your teeth fixed. How about that? They're done. They're done.
But it's giving very much that, like, oh, you rich? Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't know. Because, like, yeah, you're having all this fun, but internally you're in turmoil because the only way you can do the foolishness that Diddy has done, you have to be in internal turmoil, baby. You're in internal turmoil to put on such a hasty operation to manipulate and abuse people, especially when they're non-consenting and like they don't know what they're getting themselves into. Well, like my mind is just blown how people can like try to make any kind of sense out of what the situation is. But the point that I'm trying to make is that like Diddy is clearly a miserable person, and a lot of celebrities, or I don't want to say a lot of celebrities, people in general, when they are in a place of misery, they want to spread it because whatever place they're in, that's what they're going to spread. That's just what it is because we're just energetic field, we're just energetic people. That's just what we do. So if you're in a sad place, you probably will be spreading that sadness even unintentionally. But Diddy has to be in such a decrepit mental space for him to think about something as dark and disturbing as what it is that he's been doing for years up until 2024, up until this year. He knew he was under investigation since last year, and he's been having these situations up until this year. You're disturbed, babe. You're disturbed, babe. You're not having fun. You're not having fun. You're not rich, right? You're actually very low, poor internally. You're not rich. You're not full of life. You're putting that on. You're in this drug induced fun time, this drug induced life form where you're not even, you're like a fucking puppet, bro. Right? You're not even in control of yourself. Or he is in control of himself and he's choosing to do dumb shit. You're choosing to do abusive shit. I'm getting hot. Because the incense stopped burning, bitch. I'm getting mad. But I don't want to get myself all worked up over this dumb shit. But yeah, like what the point is that the point that I'm trying to make is that like you can have all this fun, you can have all this luxury, you can have all this celebrity, all this fame, all this money. But how many celebrities do we know overdosed? How many celebrities do we know like committed that died by suicide? I'm trying to be all politically correct. No, died by suicide. You know what I'm saying? And it's because, yeah, you have all of these things, but that doesn't make you happy. It doesn't change who you are. You're just who you are with money. You're just who you are with a yacht. You know what I'm saying? You're just a monster with a fucking yacht, bro. I said earlier, like talking about taboo things, but taboo things like sex work, BDSM, even like African traditional religions, things that are like, ooh, you're practicing an African traditional religion. Ooh, you're doing voodoo. Ooh, you're doing hoodoo. Ooh, you're doing obia. Like, ooh, you're doing Santeria. You know, like those things that are taboo. Or like BDSM, where you're just like, oh my God, you tie people up, you beat people up, like blah, blah, blah. Things that are taboo in that way, they center consent, they center permission, and things that are taboo need to be just, well, those things that are taboo. There are some things that are taboo that need to stay taboo. But those things that I mentioned, you can learn a lot from those practices and those understandings because of the way that you need permission to go forward. You need permission to continue on that relationship. All of those things, sex work, BDSM, practicing African traditional religions. You can't just go into it and just act blah, blah, blah. You can, but there's going to be some consequences if you fucking with the right person or the wrong person. So I just feel like I was saying earlier, to normalize these taboos would be very helpful in our society and in our cultural makeup because it will allow us to be a consent focused society, and that reduces a lot of harm because there's consent everywhere you go. You go into the grocery store, you know, they may ask you, you know, do you want to donate to this thing or whatever. If they just took the extra dollar, do you want to donate $1 to the Ronald McDonald Fund? You know what I'm saying? You could say yes or you could say no. If they just took it from you, not you a thief. Not you a thief. You know what I'm saying? Like if you go to get your car washed and they ask you, do you want me to wax your tires too? They're asking for your consent. You know what I'm saying? If you go and get a wax, they ask you eyebrows too. You have you have to consent for the upgrade to spend your money and all these other things. So you can see that in what I'm saying, the African traditional religions. You can see that through sex work. You can see that through BDSM, where there has to be consent along the way, because if not, it changes the fabric of what the relationship is. There's deception happening. So, hello, let's wake up and live. Like when I'm talking about sex work, I'm thinking about like Superhead. How she been talking about this for years. Her book, I read her book. It was good. Shout out to Corinne Steffens. I forgot, like, is that her real name? I don't know. Shout out to Superhead. She sounded the alarm. The girl Baby Gemini, who was talking about Sage to Gemini. He's another person who could be added to the list, and how he raped her. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah. So these are sex workers who are like sounding the alarm. They're saying these things. Everybody's like, "You're just a sex worker. You just want money, or what you expect? You went over to his house and you agreed to have sex." It's just like, yeah, you can agree to have sex, but along the way, sex is an experience, baby. Once you're ready, okay. Once you're ready to say, okay, I'm not having fun no more. Let me get off this ride. You gotta cut it, cut it, cut it, cut that shit, babe. Cut it. Yeah. Also, one thing that I'm like noticing and realizing, and like it's really disturbing, is that victims have to be there's a demand for victims to be uber responsible. Like there's always a list of things that you gotta be the perfect victim for people to believe you, which is why initially Cassie was the perfect victim. Like when her lawsuit came out, it was just like bam, like she was his girlfriend, right? They were together for a long period of time. She had her own individual success, separate from him. She's a married woman now. I don't know if they have children or not. Cassie and her new partner. So she's light skinned, she's thin, right? We know who she is. Like she already has like a social support system. She has fans and things like that. So she was believed, right? And she was able to gauge this lawsuit against him, and she was the perfect victim, which is, I feel like, why the whole Diddy situation is unrolling in the way that it is. Because if it was a dark skinned, fat, black lady, or if it was a dark skinned, like, trans person, or something like that, or just a random person out of nowhere, even though it has been random people out of nowhere. This isn't the first lawsuit that Diddy has had. But Cassie, because she was the perfect victim, was able to be taken seriously. She had the fame already. We already knew who she was. She was his girlfriend. She was someone who was, oh, she just want money, she just want money, she just want money. Now people are saying that about Cassie, even though her lawsuit been there. She already got her money. They're just like, oh my God, wipe your tears with the $30 million that you got, or girl, you should be okay with the $30 million that you got. It's just like, that just shows that y'all think that joy comes with money. And it just shows how empty you are internally, because, like I said, how many celebrities have died by suicide? How many celebrities have overdosed? Just because you have money doesn't mean you're happy. So this girl could have $30 million, so what? She's being tormented every fucking day. She has to relive these things every fucking day, bro. So she had to be the perfect victim, and she was essentially. It sucks to say that, but essentially that's what it was. But even with the other victims that Diddy has coming out, even with victims of other people, right? And you have to be uber responsible as a victim. You have to have evidence. You have to have like video evidence, audio recordings, right? You have to be like, you have to have evidence. You have to be prompt. The question is always, well, why didn't you go to the police immediately? Well, why didn't you do this? Well, why didn't you do that? Why are you just not telling us? Everybody always like, well, why are you just not saying something? It's just like, now I know damn well. There's plenty of times where there's something that you went through that people still don't know about. Everybody got a deep dark secret or two. So there's plenty of things that we're holding inside that no one knows, that we're not either willing to share, that we don't want to share, or we're not ready to share it yet. So wherever, you got to be prompt. You got to have evidence. You got to be like ready to speak and tell your story over and over again. You have to be fearless, no trauma. You have to like just immediately say, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, on the other hand, you still won't be believed. You can do all these things. People aren't going to believe you. The woman that was shot in the face by Diddy said it immediately. The lady was on the table getting her face reconstructed and uttering the words, Diddy shot me in the face. Did all these things. Sis is fearless. You know what I'm saying? She's been talking to the public. Sis was prompt. She did do what she had to do, and it still wasn't good enough. So we have all of these expectations for victims to be like, well, why is it taking so long? Why didn't you leave? Why didn't you fight back? Why did you go in the first place? Why were you wearing this? Why didn't you go to the police? None of those questions would even be able to be asked if the perpetrator didn't do what they did. If the abuser didn't do what they did, we wouldn't even be asking any of these questions. They're the catalyst of the situation, and we over here grilling the person who was harmed. If the harm wasn't done in the first place, we wouldn't have to even be asking these questions. Why are you grilling me? Why are you grilling this person? Why are you grilling these victims? Like, that shit is so disturbing. But yeah, like, girl, They need to sit down. So, just to wrap this up in a beautiful bow, what I will say is that community is the North Star. When you have a support system, you're able to express yourself in a way that is safe, where you feel like the timeliness is okay and that you're not pressured. You can be honest and things like that. Community is the North Star. I feel like community is always the North Star to a majority of things, because when you're isolated, it allows you to, first of all, get in your own head, and then you feel like you're alone, like, and you possibly can be. When you're isolating yourself, you can definitely be alone, and it's just harder to come out when you don't have that support. Also, just be audacious and honest in your everyday life, whether that's involving when you're at work. As for the most part, work is tricky because, bitch, we need a bag. So sometimes you gotta eat shit sometimes, but just be as audacious and honest as possible when you're dating people, around family members, around like co-workers, like people in your daily life, because that weeds out the foolishness. When you're able to be honest and audacious, it weeds out rape apologists. Like if someone says something where it's like, well, why did she go to his house? Like, well, why was she there? Or what was she wearing? You just be like, what does that matter? Why does that matter? You know what I'm saying? And then you're able to like just see those things. So I don't know, girl. It's definitely like works in progress and things like that. It's very sad and disturbing to see the way people are making jokes about this whole situation. But like I said, this is how we're able to get here in the first place, because not only is Diddy being held up by the system that he had of like bodyguards and assistants and managers and other people who were purveyors of abusive behavior as well, but also as a society, we were able to hold him up, giving him awards and shit. They knew that nigga was doing dirty fucking shit, and they giving him awards. The key to the city. What? What? You know what I'm saying? Laughing and shit, making jokes about Meek Mills. And that was years ago. People making jokes about Meek Mills. People making jokes about Usher and normalizing that shit. Not only is Diddy able, like, with his initial circle, able to get away with this because of the system, he's able to get away with it because us as a society, we're laughing this shit off. We're saying, oh my gosh, like, Cheek Mills instead of Meek Mills. Y'all are sad. And you're unintelligent as fuck if you think that that's funny. It's not. Abuse is not fucking funny, bro. It's just disturbing as fuck. And like I said, Diddy isn't the first, and he won't be the last. I just listed off a few people that are rumored of being abusers, and they doing just fine. What's that about? Ciao, cheese. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had to get it off my chest, and yeah, girl, like burn some incense or something. Like burn something to clear the air. But yeah, girl, we'll just see what happens with this whole Diddy situation. I don't think he getting out of jail. He shouldn't. But yeah, like even his son and shit, girl. It's just so many people who are just like, yo, like y'all are on my list. Like really, y'all are disturbing. But anyways, thank you so much for watching my video. I had a good fucking time doing it. Like I said, I made it to 100. Well, I'm about to make it to 100 subscribers. I'm really excited about that. Period milestone. Period milestone. Purr, 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 purr. So like get your friends, your family, your people to subscribe to my channel so I can get to 100 subscribers. Like lit, lit, lit. It's only up from here. So yeah, it is what it is, girl. Until next time, I hope you have fun. I hope you like my hair. You see, I said I was gonna redo my hair and I did. Purr, purr, purr. But yes, girl. Until next time. Toodles.